Hello, everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law, where we learn from the misfortunes of others. As always, I hope you enjoy this legal education content, and today's the day I earned that subscription. For today's story, we're talking about a strange ruling from a federal district court dealing with freedom of speech. A University of Tennessee Tech professor had published a parody relating to Game of Thrones as it relates to an official he wanted to criticize. But the federal court ruled somewhat bizarrely. The First Amendment didn't protect this speech. In fact, the First Amendment actually required censorship of this speech of the professor. A somewhat bizarre take on the First Amendment by this federal district court. So we're going to read a story about this and understand it better. Let's get started with this. In February 2021, Tennessee Tech professors Julia Gruber and Andrew Smith created and distributed parody flyers skewering Andrew Donaldo, who is a local county commissioner and fellow Tennessee Tech professor. The flyer showing Donaldo sitting on an iron throne holding a store, criticizing him as a racist college professor for advertising the national hate group Turning Point USA because hate and hypocrisy are not welcome at Tennessee Tech. And here apparently is a picture of this flyer that was produced that says, this racist college professor thought it would be a great idea to help start a Tennessee chapter for this national hate group where racist students can unite to harass, threaten, intimidate, and terrorize persons of color, feminists, liberals, and the like, especially their teachers. Their organization created a national professor watch list to harass and intimidate progressive educators, including men and women, African American and Muslim professors. Then pictured here is a picture of the professor with sword in hand upon the iron throne. Then it says, Professor Donaldo and Turning Point USA, you are on our list. Your hate and hypocrisy are not welcome at Tennessee Tech. No unity with racists. Hate speech is not free speech. Well, I'll put too fine a point on it, but hate speech is in fact free speech. It's protected by the First Amendment. So just no, but okay. So this is the flyer they produced to express displeasure at this professor for sponsoring Turning Point USA to enable them to speak and stuff and have speech and stuff. So that was the wrong thing. So these two other professors produced this flyer to mock him and something. Okay, so let's read more. Donato reported the flyers to the university, but later acknowledged that as an elected official, he could take the heat. Nonetheless, the provost found Gruber and Smith violated Tennessee Tech's professionalism policies and, bizarrely, the university's own free speech on campus policy. She determined it was a concern that the professor's viewpoints supposedly start to impinge on the rights of other students, that start mistreating others because of those viewpoints, and start taking actions that are based on viewpoints that are inappropriate actions. They believe the concerns merited discipline despite the fact the university's free speech policy clearly forecloses university punishment for merely offensive expression. And then it has the policy. Tennessee Tech is committed to maintaining a campus as a marketplace of ideas for all students and faculty, in which the free exchange of ideas is not to be suppressed because of the ideas put forward, are thought by some or even most members of Tennessee Tech to be offensive, unwise, immoral, indecent, disagreeable, conservative, liberal, traditional, racial, or wrong-headed. So a pretty strong free speech statement that the provost apparently is not abiding by. The university then banned Gruber and Smith from serving as faculty advisors to winning student organizations, participating in studies abroad activities, and receiving salary increases for a year. Refusing to bend the knee, the professors sued, asserting that Tennessee Tech unlawfully retaliated against them for political expression in violation of their First Amendment rights, which seems to be quite correct. The professors' lawsuit echoed Fire's letter to Tennessee Tech, which explained how the First Amendment protects public university faculty when they speak as private citizens on matters of public concern. Among other things, they emphasized that speech protects parody and satire, even if vitriolic, outlandish, offensive mockery, especially in public discourse. The chief district judge, Waverly Crenshaw's opinion started promisingly, first establishing a robust tradition of academic freedom in our nation's post-secondary schools, and discussing how a professor's right to academic freedom and expression are paramount. But then the judge takes a bit of a sideways turn. Balancing this right against Tennessee Tech's interest in promoting workplace efficiency, the court validated the university's interest in fostering a collegial education environment while doing everything within its power to maintain its reputation. The court determined the flyer was not collegial and cuts against promotion of free exchange of ideas enshrined in Tennessee's policy. The judge saying the free exchange of ideas on campus purportedly valued by Tennessee Tech, will shut down if administrators can punish faculty and student critics. In discussing how the flyers impacted Tennessee Tech, the court concluded the university has shown little in the way of actual harm, given Donato and the Turning Point USA member were so unfazed by it that they went on Fox television. The court even admitted the flyer was not seen by many others, and there's nothing to suggest that classes were canceled or rescheduled as a result of the flyer. Despite the lack of impact, the court upheld the punishment as reasonable, because distributing the flyers would allegedly disrupt the ability of the university to fulfill its core mission of teaching students and diminish its obligation to protect all student freedom of speech. This is just backwards on the First Amendment. This is completely backwards, particularly at a university. Even at a high school, this would be backwards. Like, you need to show actual disruption under Tinker. And Tinker deals with high schools. Right? If you're going to apply Tinker to the university setting, which I'm not sure you should, but like this is just getting the First Amendment completely backwards. So yeah, I mean, is it nice? But no. But then again, that's okay. You're allowed to have not nice speech, and just disagree with each other as one does as professionals. That's fine. Free speech exists precisely to protect uncollegial and insulting expression. Damn straight. As benign, inoffensive words seldom provoke governmental action. Although universities can address substantial disruption to activity, the court concluded the flyers caused little in the way of actual harm. Troublingly, the court improperly cited a high school student-athlete case to justify university efforts to prevent potential disruption, wholly failing to explain how the flyers could possibly impact campus operations. The court also supplanted the professor's expressive rights to elevate university efforts to maintain its reputation. In what world are government agencies allowed to violate citizens' constitutional rights to bolster their image? Fair. Yeah, where are the grounds? How is this a legitimate state interest, let alone one sufficient to override a fundamental function in governmental operations? Administrators that are so ignorant of the First Amendment that they see criticism of public figures as stifling speech pose a far greater chilling effect than parody. True. The free exchange of ideas on campus, purportedly valued by Tennessee Tech, will shut down if administrators can punish their faculty and student critics. Turning a policy that claims to protect speech that may be offensive, unwise, immoral, indecent, and disagreeable into a tool for censorship is a bastardization of the First Amendment. I completely agree with the views of the Foundations for Individual Rights in Education. Thus, that brings us to the end of the story about going on at Tennessee Tech, where apparently one professor is fighting other professors because one professor wanted to sponsor Turning Point USA, which these professors thinks is a hate group, which, they're not, but okay, whatever. They're a group that expresses the wrong thing. That much is clear. And we can't have that at the university, which might be the most important place for free speech to exist. But we're opposed to free speech. So they can express their views that free speech sucks. And so this is the thing that's going on. The district court totally flubbed this. They flubbed the First Amendment analysis. Freedom of speech for all. Freedom of speech for things I don't like. This speech is dumb, but that's protected speech, and it can be dumb and still be protected. So I'm sure and hope for this will be overturned on appeal. And at least for a moment, that brings us to the end of discussion of this case.